Right then, everybody. Hello. Oh, it's been a week and a half, hasn't it? If you bear with me, I'm now going to switch over to a slightly better mic. Get yourself all sorted out. If you are watching this straight away, that's because you've had a notification or you've been sat there patiently, ready and waiting. I know that I should be streaming this out as well to Periscope. So hopefully it should be showing up on Twitter as well. He just looks. There it is. So I'm up and running on that as well. Okay. And I sort my mic out. We're live on Twitch as well, so if you're watching on any of the platforms, by all means, hello there, welcome along. So yeah, I can appreciate that we may not have the biggest audience in the world for these episodes, purely because, well, at the end of the day, we have some real life to deal with. And it ain't easy, I get it. But hopefully you can join us on a Sunday. Oh, we've got 5 people here at least watching along. Jump in on the chat, let us know where you're listening from or watching from. And in a couple of minutes, we'll dive in. Plenty of stuff to talk about. So by all means, if there's any topics of conversation you want to get into, let us know. It is your show. This is what it's going to be, certainly for the next months, maybe. It's one big communal hub as we remember and celebrate some cracking common memories. And of course, you know, what could happen. We look forward to the future of Comic Cons. Looking for as many polls as I can. If you can, share. I mean, I found about 2 or 3. If you can, share. I'm looking for Comic Con polls, as in those which people have put themselves forward for their opinion on whether San Diego Comic Con will be going ahead. And we're discussing that, of course, because everyone's on a bit of a war footing. The convention center in San Diego is now doing its best to have a number of the. So look at this. I've got a message jumping in on the comments. A whole bunch of people obviously talking about the poll and or a poll on the Friends of Comic Con forum. And this has been rather vocal about trying to be optimistic, which I can understand, but people have to start looking at these things. People can't be blamed. It's all about how the rest of the year is going to go forward. Bear with me a second. Because now oh dear me. Okay, sorry about this. I'm just trying to get myself all sorted out. Okay, hang on. Oh dear me. Sorry, my brother is getting a little bit antsy. He's getting stuck, like we all are. What we can get up to and what we can distract ourselves with. That's what the show's going to be all about. It's about kind of talking out our love of Comic Cons, but obviously things. It's a new reality, everybody. Nobody's jumping on the chat yet, so please do let me know where you're watching from. You're also going to need your opinion on something I'm going to be sharing a little bit later. So 30 seconds ago, we'll crack on. Although, it should be really live now. 2 minutes past the hour, 3 minutes past the hour. Good Lord. We've been live for 5 minutes. How on earth is a 3-minute countdown? How's that work? Is it playing half speed? I get the feeling it is. Oh, okay. Let's just crack on, because that's not right. Okay. Right. Let me go to that as well. Hello there, everybody. A little bit late. I have no idea what on earth the countdown clock was happening there. Why it ran slow. How bizarre. How utterly odd. But, you know, that's the kind of way that the world is at the moment. Everything just seems topsy-turvy and upside down and inside out. No, that's a whole other song lyric. We won't get into that. Also, let me know if you can hear me. Just in case there's any technical issues, because I want to make sure that everything's all right. Because I did have a mess around with how I could get the audio sorted out from something I was trying to sort out last week. I wanted to play out some audio from a video clip of the double clicks. I can still actually technically do it because I did myself a live stream, a bit of a DJ thing on Friday night. It's a nice little app which kind of convinced the computer to fold its own audio back into itself so it could play out as a channel, which is the only way I could work out how to do it. So I played a DJ set, played the video as well. I haven't got that set up this time. I've kind of put it all back together so I can do this. But no, that's the way it will. Let those watching, if anything, because what I might also do, if we get a couple of familiar faces on the chat, I'm going to possibly put the link up to join us on this very forum, so you can just come along and say hello to everybody, and we can all just kind of group together. My audio sucks. Okay. In that case, let's see if I can go to. How's that? Tell me if that's any better. Dan says my audio sucks. He's messaged somewhere else. Let me know. Okay, let me know if that's better, if that's improved. If it's not, I might even go to the audio on the webcam and go that way. Better, he says. Well, I'll tell you what, I might even try the webcam one. We'll go that way. A couple of things I wanted to certainly bring up in terms of how that sounds. There we go. Okay, let me know if that sounds any better as well. That's using the webcam comments. Right, okay. Couple of things before we do dive into the things that I want to talk about today. Number one was regarding just general funds and the way that we are running the site and running everything here on an Englishman in San Diego. And also the fact that at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to be struggling over the course of this month, next month, and the coming months as we all kind of have to deal with what we have to deal with. For myself, the way that my own financial thing works is any monies that come in on the Patreon page basically goes straight into the site. It's sat in an account and it doesn't go anywhere, and it just pays for accounts. We had something come out from our hosting site this morning. I need to check out exactly what that is, but I think that's a domain registration. But basically, it's all paid for by the Patreon support. We don't get a great deal, but we get enough to keep the lights on, and that's exactly what it should be there for. When we do have enough to also pay contributors, we also fold that in as well. For myself, my own personal earning is through as a DJ. So I go out to pubs, clubs, parties, function rooms, working men's clubs, anywhere that basically allows me to play music at people. And that allows me to earn a reasonable amount of money to pay the bills, buy my comics, and sort myself out throughout the course of the day, treat Caroline, do what I need to do. Slight issue with that, as of last weekend, basically means I am not earning at all. There is a government scheme, which I think is being introduced pretty much across the globe by most organizations. The idea being that there is a kind of a government slush fund to help pay employees. Now, for self-employed, certainly here in the UK, the way it's going to work is there's an application you have to go forward. And once it's been processed, I believe there's a payment that's going to be coming out either end of April, beginning of June, which is some way away. Now, that could really be rather difficult. I put a tweet out about 3 weeks ago, which basically said I had a fortuitous amount of good luck, which meant that I was able to guarantee that I'd be going to San Diego Comic-Con and fund it with the flights and the accommodation. What that was, and I will explain. I won't give you the full figures, but I'll give you the general gist. Here in the UK, we've been, over the last 3-4 years, we've been told to apply for PPI, which is Payment Protection Insurance, refunds on credit cards and loans. There have been PPI charges which have been put on credit cards. And this has kind of meant that illegally they have been taking funds, especially if you didn't apply for the PPI loan. I applied via a company to look into it, have a look around my finances, and as it happens, three weeks ago, I received a check for a sizable amount of money, which once I'd paid their cut, which wasn't small, still left me with a reasonable amount of cash. I used some of it to pay some credit card bills, not all of it, but take a little bit of the effort off and leave a sizable chunk, which would pay for my accommodation and my flights for me and Caroline. And it was a huge weight off our shoulders. And I tweeted out, a great piece of good luck and fortune has happened. I hope this is where I'm waiting for the penny to drop, because this is where real life usually comes around and bites me on the arse. And then Corona happened. So I hate to think that my good fortune has jinxed it for literally everybody on the planet. But that is how it feels at the moment. It's the reason why I'm not overly stressing at the moment for cash as this pandemic and this crisis continues, purely because there is that amount of money which is available, which even if we aren't going to San Diego this year, even if I don't hit it that hard, we have some funds to work on. Caroline will be getting paid, but it's going to be a minimal amount, and she also has to apply for it. It's a mess, but I think it's a mess for everybody. So my small issues weigh nowhere near the issues for other people. I'm not getting any comments at all coming through, so please do type away, let us know, or DM me or message me on Twitter. Let me know if you are leaving a message, because I'm not getting any comments, and it's all about you. I want to get your shouts, so please do jump in, because we want to hear from you guys. So in a financial standpoint, not really panicking too much, not just yet. It allows me to keep doing what I do. I am attempting to apply for a couple of driving jobs. So here in the UK, and I'm certain in the US as well, there's a great uptick in companies and fast food restaurants doing deliveries, supermarkets doing deliveries. Click and collect is certainly something that is here in the UK. Order online, get a driver to deliver the items to you. What I'm going to apply for a couple of that, because it has become incredibly important or aware to me that I'm not very good at a great deal of things. I am trained as a DJ. That's what I do. So it's then a case of finding something that I can be good at and how I can contribute. So that's pretty much what I want to try and find over the course of the next couple of weeks and find out exactly what I can do to give back, and also maybe earn a little bit of money on the way as well. Okay, so that's where I am in terms of the actual site. Also in terms of how this goes along. There you go, just want to find that. Something that I wanted to talk about here on the site and on the stream is that what we are going to be doing, or what I'm going to be doing, is doing this twice a week, because I want to now shift the focus of what this live stream and also what the channel is going to be about, which is basically us coming together, supporting each other, having a big communal hug about Comic-Cons, con culture, comics, what we're enjoying, what we're watching, how we're dealing with this terrible scenario. So what we're going to be doing is another live stream, and we're going to be doing that on Wednesday evenings, same time at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, but we are going to be shifting to twice a week. It is pretty much going to be a lot of this, a lot of banter to camera. I am going to be, in fact, I'm going to put this out there, and we'll see if anyone joins in. You never know. If you want to join in, if anyone wants to join and misbehave, well, that's something that is all about you. If you want to occupy yourself in that regard, fine. Which I can't actually share it to the comments here on the chat. That's a shame. I was going to say, if you want to DM me, if you want to message me on Twitter, Englishman SDCC, if you fancy joining us, if you do want to participate and have a conversation, what I'd like is say your favorite Comic-Con memories, shows that you would have been going to this summer, and that you're thinking back. I've been looking at a number of people on my social media feeds who have been just looking back at previous, say, San Diego Comic-Cons, and they've all been just kind of sharing good memories, and just that's what they've been doing to bolster themselves, just looking back at the good times, and trying their best to kind of keep their spirits up, which is how it's all supposed to be. A cup of tea required. Okay, so a couple of things I wanted to jump in on. Number one, we are going to talk about the, quite frankly, disgusting behavior of Ace Comic-Con and Grotix, which is just absurd, and we'll dive into that shortly. But let's get into something that came up as part of a number of polls this week. So what I'm going to do is remove that, and we will show another screen here. This is a poll which was, for me, the most positive and diplomatic poll out of all of them, because there was one on the Friends of Comic-Con forum, which, as far as I'm aware, I now can't find. And I don't know if this is because Alyssa has muted that particular poll because she felt that any conversation about the cancellation or postponing of San Diego Comic-Con at this time was not constructive, which I kind of disagree with. And I'm by all means jumping on the comments. I'm not seeing any comments coming through, so I'm a little bit concerned. I am hoping that you are out there and watching. But this is a poll that was put up by the unofficial blog, which kind of, for me, sees a very optimistic half empty, half full scenario. In that they were asking, obviously no one knows how long or even how this pandemic shakes out, but at this moment, do you hope San Diego Comic-Con postpones or cancels? San Diego Comic Con happens in July. 58%, which is just over half, postponing or cancelling, which I think just came from an air of caution, of being responsible, and also just generally the way that San Diego is going to have to react, considering that we haven't had the hotel sale. We're unlikely to have the hotel sale. If I see an email coming in that a hotel sale is happening next week, I'll be stunned. But also there is that sense of optimism as well. San Diego Comic-Con happens in July, 42%, which is still, considering the scenario we're in, pretty solid. That was 4 days ago when that result went up. I think that was a very worthwhile poll that was put together by the unofficial blog. Okay. Have I got the chat box open? That's one way of doing it, I suppose. And just opening, well, I could, let's open it up on YouTube. Okay, fair enough. I will watch along on YouTube and kind of go from there. Let's see what's happening here. Turn the audio off. You can shush. Oh, we have got a fair number. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Tell you what, I'm going to very quickly go through a number of these. Toby Turnlino, good morning. Let's have a look at this. I mean, yes, there was the issue that we've got our clocks back, so our Sam's all over this. Good morning, all. Andrew English, hello from London. Everyone talking about the audio. Yes, I can appreciate that. Video is good, but sound and video now not matching. Is that the case? If that's the case, I'll switch back. Let's have a look at this. 3 words to save your career, Bubble Boy. Party. It's like watching a badly dubbed foreign film. Is that still the case? Let me know if the audio's off, because I'll switch back to the other one. But here we go. What are your feelings of CCI waiting until June to make a decision on San Diego Comic-Con? Right, this is Sarita P asking this. As far as I'm aware, that was not. If anyone wants to correct me, by all means. As far as I'm aware, that isn't being made official. That is a suggestion or a thing that's being put forward by the city of San Diego. In which case, it's not something that's, I haven't seen anything from CCI that have said that that is the case. This is more a something from the city where they've turned around and said that it's an under advisement that that's probably where it's going to go, that they have to wait until we see how this pandemic plays out. So that is not something from CCI as far as I'm aware. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Okay. So I'm just trying to get the comments back up on the screen. I'm kind of failing a little bit. Never mind. Solicitor of Smeg, I have mixed the feelings about that. As a nerd, I want it to happen. So the longer they wait, the better the chance they can go ahead. But the bad publicity might get any damage to the brand. I don't kind of agree with that either, in the regard of, I don't think you can damage the brand with this. This is something that's out of their control. This is out of everybody's control. The only brands that are going to get damaged throughout this entire affair, this entire scenario, is the Trump brand and anybody that doesn't want to pay their employees. I just find it ridiculous that companies can't come together to support their employees at this time. They are the blood which makes a company happen. And I don't understand a company not wanting to support that going forward. Andrew English is, hey, we do have a comment. Excellent stuff. And so this was jumping in on the YouTube. Oh, we've got some comments coming through. Excellent. Not so optimistic comment from Andrew, though. MCM London May will be cancelled as XL is being used and it makes use profitable. Yes, but that would kind of new. Depending on how long it will affect MCM London and Destination Star Trek. True. But priorities are as they were. And at the moment, the Nightingale, as the MCM, as the XL has now been dubbed, it's just a case of, I mean, it's not a case of sympathy or detriment to a company or to an organization, to a building. This is a building which is coming together in a wartime footing to help the country and to help those in need. So a Comic-Con doesn't go ahead. So conventions don't take place in the XL. If that's what needs to happen in that building, that's what happens. I have no problem if these events, listen, if every single Comic-Con on the planet got cancelled and it saved a life, that's the way it is. I have no problem with it. Solicitor Smeg, CCI did wait until a month before to cancel WonderCon, so June is an outlandish timeline to make a decision. True. The difference, I think, with CCI cancelling WonderCon and cancelling San Diego is, of course, just sheer logistics. With WonderCon, you're selling out of the Saturday badges, I'd say about a week or so, maybe 5 days before the actual convention. Or actually, in this case, because it had grown so big and WonderCon is now such a big event, I think it was 3 weeks beforehand. That's when they sold out the Saturday badges. With San Diego Comic-Con, the badges sell out instantly. People are wanting to get their ducks in a row to attend this show. That includes accommodation, flights. And at this point, I think it's down to just the organization of making it happen. If they turned around and did the decision to go ahead a month before San Diego Comic-Con to organize and to actually announce we are going ahead in June, to then do the hotel rooms then and just blitz it all in 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks, I personally don't think I can't see it happening. I cannot see how that works. Into the Blue Mister, I think the Wales Comic-Con has been ambitious with August. Same drill. I think July, August is, I mean, then again, I said this a month ago. Let's wait 2 weeks and let's see where we are. It's been 2 weeks. We've seen where we are. We're in lockdown. It's just, I can't see that happening. Andrew Dickinson, what are the chances that they won't be having The Walking Dead as badges? I think it would be very poor optics if they did. So there we go. And Neil's watching, currently watching. Hello there, Neil. Welcome along. Let's have a look at see other comments. By all means, jump in. We have comments on YouTube now. Fantastic. I may just go through very quickly some of the old ones on the comments. Karen Session. I'm good with the decision. If the decision is for CCI to wait until June. Sorry. I feel the longer they wait, the better the chances of the con happening. If there is any damage to the brand, I think it's temporary. Like I say, I don't think the brand can take a hit from this. We're all in it together. Anyone that has any kind of misgivings, which is where I was going to bring up the next one. Another poll that came out from a online film reviewer, which if you are still badly dubbed foreign film. Okay, bear with me. Let's see if I can just change it to something else. 1 second. 1 2 2 1 2. Okay, try now. Let me know what's happening now. Andrew English. Yeah, I'm trying to sort this out. I do apologize. Right. There was a film review, an online film reviewer who, if you are a long-time follower of my channel, you'll know who I'm talking about. I am not a fan of hers, and she deliberately puts polls out, and she kind of has an audience which is very divisive. They don't watch films for the love of films. They watch films to either watch a film fail or to watch an actor flop, and they take great pride in when it happens. She has personal vendettas against a number of actresses, and basically I am not a fan at all. She feels that the box office is the absolute pinnacle of the success or failure of a film, instead of how it actually tells a story and how it reacts with an audience. She will be the kind of person that would give a one-hit wonder artist a kicking because they only had one hit, instead of actually turning around and saying, right, well, what have you done? What have you contributed into the stratosphere? She put a poll out regarding San Diego Comic-Con and her audience. Does Danbury, does her name rhyme with space? Yes, it does, as it happens. And she put a poll out, which I can't seem to track down. And not only that, but I've muted her channel, but someone shared me a screenshot, and it was along the lines of San Diego Comic-Con postponing and cancelling, or the way it was worded was really, it was kind of very vindictive. Is, yeah, they need to postpone, they need to cancel. Do you agree? At which point, I think 89% of her followers said yes, and 11 said no. And basically, it was just a very vindictive kind of poll. I want to have a more balanced approach. I want to have, it was just very much a case of giving San Diego, Comic-Con International a kicking for even considering cancelling or even going ahead. It was just very kind of divisive, was this particular poll. So it was, I personally believe that whatever happens for any company that is left with the decision out of their hands by this act of nature, act of God, whatever, however you want to consider the situation we're in, it's just a case of you can't blame the company for this situation to happen. Once you start doing that, you get into all sorts of conspiracy theories, and heaven knows I've seen a couple of those today, which made me nearly throw a phone across a room. It's doesn't serve anybody any good whatsoever. Right, so let's have a quick look at this on the old comments, the older comments, sorry. And yes, we're going to dive into, because like I say, the only way that a company deserves any kind of criticism is how they handle what they are doing with this particular scenario. And I think that brings us to ACE, ACE Universe, which is an organizer of a number of conventions, and they were scheduled to have a whole bunch of conventions coming up. Let's see if we can just got this right. I want to try and bring this up into the window, at which point it's now bringing me all sorts of weird and wonderful things going on here. Right. If you can get the chance, if you can follow it along, basically, Grotix, I mean, it's been put together very nicely by The Beat, which has very much been following the story. Heidi McDonald's done a great job of kind of collating all of the various lines and information that is available out there. For example, it all kind of also started with this interview with the CEO of Patron, which is the company that owns Grotix, and Rob Salkowitz did this really great interview, which I can't seem to share because it's in a different tab. Of course it is. Oh, let's see if I can just bring you the tab into place. Okay. And There we go. Let's go with this. Right. So it started with, like I say, this interview, which was being run by Rob on ICV2, at which point he questioned regarding the way that Patron had been affected, reduction of the company's own workforce by about 30% to 300 as a result of slowing business. At which point, a whole bunch of very relevant comments came out of the interview, including the idea of what's going on with the numbers of this particular event and how it was being handled in terms of the insurance that had been taken out by the events. So Rob asked how much of the brunt of these cancellation postponement is being borne by the organisers and companies like you that support them, as opposed to being covered by insurance or terms with venues that have to offer some financial leeway. At which point Jenkins replied, it appears that insurance, to the extent it was purchased by event organisers, generally doesn't cover the current scenario. We have limited exposure, but we are definitely feeling the pain. Rob replies, wait, what? Insurance isn't covering organisers who have to cancel or postpone events? Jenkins, there are plenty of promoters who carry business interruption insurance, but the payments for this situation are in dispute. We have examples where insurers are not covering cases. In all different industries, we're hearing the same thing. People are shocked they are not paying. They thought they were covered. I mean, we know insurance companies scrutinize claims so they can minimize what they need to pay out. That's their business. But it's left a lot of events that thought they had been prudent with a lot of exposure. At which point, a court case or a legal dispute was put forward by Ace Comic Con, basically saying that Grotix had Ace had cancelled the show, and Grotix accused of stealing millions of dollars in those refunds, which were to go to customers. So those were being refunds for tickets and photo ops for the actual event. Okay, Michael, please also going to send me another link. Grotix provided the ticketing services and event management software. According to the complaint, Grotix was to be compensated ahead of the percentage of sales, and the two companies had an agreement with each other covering the processing of refunds in the event of cancellation. That contract also contained the force majeure provision, which Ace says excused performance when the parties were prevented by living up to obligations by reason of governmental action or an act of God beyond control, which, last time I checked, both are relevant to this particular scenario. And there you go, filed in the Southern District of New York, Ace Universe versus Grotix. Apparently there is a response. We'll come back to that in a second. So, according to the suit, Grotix told Ace they were withholding the refund monies and needed more fees from Ace. The most dramatic claim is that Patron, Grotix parent company, sought to attach and withdraw $2.3 million from Ace bank accounts in the middle of the night. This unauthorized attack on Ace's bank accounts, which would have jeopardized the company and all but destroyed any chance of refunds, was prevented. So there's just been a whole bunch of to and fro, which is just absolutely disturbing, frankly, that this is going ahead. It's just a case of a company wanting to do right by its customers. A couple of things that are coming out of this, which I think a lot of people have been surprised about. I've been looking at a number of Facebook groups, surprised that this 2.4 million for the one convention. At which point you just turn around and go, how much do you think these conventions make? What do you think happens? Where do you think this money goes and comes from? There's a lot of money, and that's the reason why these shows go ahead. Let's have a look at this. People are just jumping in and talking about where the blame effectively lies down the line for Corona. It's just, yeah, a little bit difficult to kind of get into that. Karen Session, not defending Ace, Comic Con, or Grotix, but it may depend on their cash position. Cash flow is the name of the game, from an individual household to a Fortune 500 company. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I want to read this link. Thank you very much indeed to Michael for sharing it with me. Let me see if I can find it and very quickly read it. But it is the ticketer that is responding. This is Grotix. So it was a nearly sold out Boston Comic Con, set to feature stars like Chris Evans, Tom Hiddleston, and Chris Hemsworth. This was cancelled March 20th, which should have gone ahead last weekend. Right. Pop culture fans quickly sought refunds, but were met with a message from promoter Ace Universe, which noted that the con's ticketing service and management software Grotix stole millions of dollars in customer refunds. In a lawsuit, Ace says the company gave Grotix $680,000 to facilitate refunds, only to find out that the refund plan would no longer work. Ace released a statement on social media this week, noting that while the company can't comment on active litigation, we will continue to maintain our steadfast commitment to the fans and always have their backs. Regarding refunds to Ace Northeast, general admission tickets have already been refunded from the universe without concern, and those will continue to process as planned in their entirety over the next few weeks, said Ace. Right, I'm trying to find this Grotix statement. Here we go. Right. In the statement, the ticketer said that the Ace lawsuit does not reflect the two companies' relationship, nor show the steps Grotix took to help ticket holders receive refunds for the cancelled events. The company says, we intend to defend vigorously against this meritless and frivolous lawsuit, which why it's going ahead is, in this current landscape, is beyond me. As a service provider, Grotix facilitated the transactions for over $2.9 million in sales for Ace Universe, with all the money due to Ace under the contract transferred to Ace as part of the services agreement between the two companies. When the event was cancelled, Ace was responsible for returning that $2.9 million they were paid to the fans. Grotix is the transaction processor to make this happen, not the bank for Ace, and thus needed Ace to return the money originally sent to them to Grotix in order to pay the refunds. In other words, they were basically saying that it's not Ace's business to refund the fans, it was theirs. Okay. Ace refused to do this, which they are obligated to do under the contract, and as permitted by the contract between them, Grotix attempted to access the funds to cover the refunds for the fans who expected and deserved this to occur in the 30-day window promised by Ace. Which makes a sense. At the end of the day, Ace are a convention organizer. If, at the end of the day, the whole thing has been administrated by Grotix, and they have said that they are the ones that want to administer and officiate the refund, that makes sense. It also kind of implies that they feel or thought or felt that Ace were going to run with the money. That's very, very awkward. Michael P., the Fed and the US government are making loans available to these firms. Solicitor of SMEG, this is sickening. Give their money back, trying to profit from a pandemic, which has got to be a one-way ticket to hell. Little or no interest, which should allow them to stay afloat. This is true. So there we go. It's so awkward. This is just such a horrible situation. Tell you what, because I don't think I can still, but no, I can't. Never mind. Okay. I'm just trying to work out a way I could do this, but I don't think I can. I wanted to put a link out so anyone wants to join in, if they've got a webcam or if they've got a phone and they just want to join in on a conversation, by all means. It's my initial reaction to the whole idea of a lawsuit taking place in this landscape seemed craven. It seemed hasty. It seemed that it had been put together very haphazardly. But off the back of that reaction and that response from Grotix, you know what? Maybe they have a very good point. At the end of the day, they are the people who are responsible for the ticket sales. They want to administrate it. They want to get the money back to fans. What I'm curious about now is, how does that work then? Will this court case effectively, I mean, it means that the two companies are accusing each other that they would rip off the fans. The money is a little bit up in the air, but by all accounts, it is currently still in Ace's bank account, at which point they should be refunding fans, at which point it's out of Grotic's hands, but they are the ones that administrate it all, surely. Yeah, they are the service provider, as acknowledged by Ace Universe's own lawsuit. Whichever side you choose to believe, as noted in the Hollywood Reporter, this is probably only the first of many lawsuits over cancelled fan events in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. This is the first salvo, and how this works and goes ahead, it's going to prove interesting for discovery on both sides of how these the money is getting distributed. Two important points. Number one, Owen Mason, certainly discovery on Ace might be very interesting if you have any interest in the business of conventions. Exactly, the how the money is distributed and how it is, how it's used and implemented could prove interesting for a bunch of. This is caps again, very weird. Could prove very interesting for comic conventions to have this out in the light. And Michael P. They are wasting money on the lawyers. Absolutely. Now, interesting comment, and this is where I started it, which is the whole idea, the optics, and how a brand will suffer purely by implementing this at this point. Will this hurt Ace's brand, or did they get off because of strange times? Remembering where Ace started, and remembering the company structure and the people involved, it's the Sheamus. Is it the Sheamus brothers? Is it Sheamus? Yeah. It's basically a case of how the organizations have behaved. For example, Solicitor of Smeg has had that initial reaction. Give everyone their money back. Trying to profit from a pandemic has got to be a one-way ticket to hell. This is sickening. Yeah, I would love to find out if Ace have turned around and said that no, we're keeping the money, we'll get it back to the fans, when that would happen. How fast would they be interested in getting that money back to fans? Or are they looking at using that capital to keep their company alive at this time, and then in the cold light of day, once everything is settled down with Corona, starting getting the money back? Because that's where we've been with other companies of note, which has kept hold of money which should have been refunded to fans. It is the Sheamus brothers. This will be another X on the Sheamus brothers again. I think you're right. I don't think anyone comes out of this in a good, positive manner. Bear with me. I don't think anyone comes out of this well. Owen Mason, they may argue that some of it comes under commercially sensitive information, though. If it goes to court, it all comes out. It has to. It won't be behind closed doors. Looking at the actual, because I had a look through the actual document, and as far as I'm aware, they are wanting to put this into a jury trial, which means this will be in the open. Yeah, that could prove very interesting for a lot of people to see exactly how and where the money gets distributed. That's going to be a very interesting court case. We've got no date on it as yet. And I think that is one of the other big issues as well, that it's just a case of how it would even be processed. And Ace, there we go. Ace would Grotix led Ace to believe it is fully intended to process refunds, although several phone calls and emails regarding timing, logistics, communications, and other things. Ace's continued singular focus was to ensure all customers were made whole as quickly as possible. Yeah. They better hope that none of the jurors bought tickets. And like Sarita says, this is going to take a long time to get resolved. Absolutely. And I think that's what I think bringing the court case ahead. I think this is where they've made a critical error, because in a normal scheme of things, a court case could move relatively quickly, especially in this particular type of court case, because it is white collar. It's dealing with funds and bank accounts and the accounts of two big businesses, where that would usually be something of a benefit to keep a lot of the dirt under the carpet, is that in the normal scheme of things, nobody has the time to follow the case. We all have plenty of time to follow along, and we all have a lot of free time to pay close attention to how this case would play out. That's where we are at the moment. And not only that, but the actual, I'm not too sure what the actual state of affairs is in the state of New York. As far as I'm aware, the courts are still open. Court cases like this are still being processed, but now people aren't rushed. At the end of the day, a lot of places are in lockdown. Yes, New York has its own priorities right now, but I think it's just going to prove very awkward. I'm going to be paying close attention to that particular court case, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll see it moves on. Right, I have a cat that is wanting to get fed, and it wouldn't be a live stream in 2020 without a cat interrupting. Would it, Buzz? There we go. So he wants feeding. So I'm going to make a move. We are going to try and kind of truncate these a little bit. We've gone on to 52 minutes, but what I think we're going to do is go to 45. Like I say, we are now going to be going to twice a week, because I want to try and have these sessions as a communal thing. So we're going to have a little bit more of a shared experience. We had a little bit of issue with the comments, and I do want to try and get the idea of getting the live stream invite out to people. So do pay attention for the next times these goes live. If you want to come on and talk, by all means, let's all come together and let's talk it out, and let's have a big communal group hug as we get through this. So we are going to be live on Wednesday, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. I'm not too sure how the lockdowns are currently working outside of the UK. Here in the UK, it's non-essentials, which means they're staying at home. If it's not involved in getting food to people, looking after the health of people, basically people are being asked to stay at home, which means they have the time to do this. So we are going to be doing a live stream on Wednesday. Aaron Neighbors is watching. Thanks for doing this, Leonard. Big virtual hug for everyone. I'd love to get you on, if anything, just so we could have like a non-SDCC fit. Let's see if we can do something about keeping ourselves buoyant. It speaks volumes that I'm doing more walking and more kind of healthy eating than I have done in months, because we've got the opportunity to do so in the current climate. But I think the idea is I am going to try and get the link out, and I'll probably post it on social media, but I don't just want to post it out there so any numpty can join in. I want our community to come together And if you do want to take part, basically, I'll either ask you to message me by DM, or we'll work some way out of getting the link out to you, and you can just join us. We can have up to 6 people here on the chat. We'd love to come together and let's just talk it out. And let's come together as a community. s07e22, here we go. If you can get comic books, my local comic book shop is doing curbside pickups. These are slowly starting to get cancelled, which is awkward, purely because the staff are either staying in, or the comic book shop is not having the stock to do so, because obviously we do have the diamond distributors now no longer mailing out books, which is just so awkward. It's such a strange situation, and I do want to have that conversation in a future episode about how comic book shops, we may not see a lot of them survive this situation. I mean, a lot of businesses are not going to survive, but it's a case of how we can help them. I do have a pile of books at my comic book shop. My comic book shop is now currently closed, which is OK Comics in Leeds. Excuse me. Into the Blue Mister, I'm paying my local comic book shop in advance for my books to keep them afloat. I am going to try and dip into some of that funds I was discussing earlier and paying for my books, but it would be this particular week where I've pre-ordered that Trigon Empire hardback, and that's 30 quid on top of my usual pull list, so that's gonna hurt. So there we go. Karen Session, hello Karen. I'm in New York. Non-essentials are closed down. Liquor stores are declared essentials. I don't know how that happened. I get it. I think, I mean, I saw that post that the Department of Health turned around and said that alcohol is not a cure or something which will help against Corona, at which point everyone just turned around and said, well, it seems to be helping me, so shush. So I do get it. Andrew English, being told off by doctor for going to work as a high risk, even though I'm an essential service and company won't pay me unless I have a letter from the NHS. They can tell you off, but at the end of the day, they have to give you the letter, man. They have to give you a letter. Solicitor Smegs, Amazon selling pre-orders of new comics seems to be like a way to go to me. I have been invited into a group on Facebook, which is talking about how distribution and the distribution model may change moving forward. Diamond may find themselves not being the dominant force when it comes to getting comics to people once this entire situation comes to a head and is resolved. I think the landscape of comics, the comics industry, is going to be changed radically in terms of reading habits, in terms of how many books are released, in terms of distribution, which is the big model. So it's just going to be, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Michael P, how are you doing? What do you mean? How am I doing myself? I'm still not 100%. There's still slight tightness on my chest, and as you can hear, there is a little bit of a residual cough. I don't doubt that I did have corona at some point since January. I'm shown a number of the symptoms, but I believe I'm past the incubation period, and now it's just a case of fighting off any residuals. My only fear is how many people I may have spread it on to in that period when we didn't know what coronavirus was, purely because our overlords neglected to mention to any of us what coronavirus was. I just thought it was a chest infection. Who knows? Hey Len, this is from Neil Patel. Neil is someone who you should follow on Twitter or just follow on social media. The guy is he's a good bloke. Could Amazon start shipping monthly comics instead of Diamond? Well, they've already got that sort of like in place. If you go to Amazon, you can buy your comics. You can buy floppy issues, just a slightly increased price, because Diamond has the distribution model of having it on a slightly different platform. Michael P asking about how my health, did they test me? No, they didn't test me, because at that time Corona was literally just something that was, the conversation was just getting started. I had a chest infection. The only question that came up was, had I come from China recently? At which point I said no. At which point they went, okay, it's a chest infection then, here's some antibiotics. And that's where we were. So there we go. Karen Session, I'm fine. Not actually that concerned about myself. We're concerned about you, Karen, because we love you. So look after yourself and stay safe. DC Comics, yes, I saw this article as well. They've sent two announcements out, actually. One to their freelance staff, to their freelance comics talent, and also they did send out a general announcement to internal memo, as it were, saying that they are looking at an alternate means of distribution. I think a lot of them are. I think, like I say, I don't think Diamond are going to come out of this in any way the powerhouse that they were. So there we go. Okay, we're at an hour. We're going to crack up. We're going to move on. Like I said, we've got plenty to talk about. We are going to be talking about it twice a week. So if you'd like to join in, please join from 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT on Wednesday. The thing I did want to finish up on is something I kind of started at the beginning, which was funds, and in terms of Patreon. What I'm going to do is put a post up on the Patreon page and basically encourage people to cancel their Patreon donation, purely because I don't think it's right for me to ask money from people at this point in time, when people are going to they're going to struggle financially with not being able to work, not being able to do what they do to earn their funds, and they're going to need it for essentials like medicines and also just food and water and just paying the bills. So I'm going to be putting a post up there. If people do want to continue to support the Patreon page for An Englishman in San Diego and the Convention Collective, I'll appreciate it always, but and then I'll just keep going as long as I can. At the end of the day, I can still point a camera at myself. I can still do this, even if it means putting the website on hold. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. Solicitor Dan Berry says, I won't cancel my Patreon. Thank you very much indeed. I really do appreciate it. But if you do, I'm not going to hold it against you in any way, shape, or form. Because that's just, we've got to come together on this. We've got to support each other. Simple as. So let's just make then. So it's going to be on YouTube on Wednesday. Yep. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, midweek episode. And we're going to have a bit of a communal thing. If you have anything that you want to talk about, what I will probably try and do is find some video clips that I've done, some videos, some photos I've taken over the years. And I'm going to have a look at some of my favorite memories of San Diego Comic Cons of years gone by, and also conventions generally. Yeah, hopefully you can kind of join me, and we'll have a little bit of a group hug and look back at some of our favorites. I'll probably start with my very first San Diego Comic Con, which was, of course, 10 years ago. This would have been my 10th anniversary, or the 10-year anniversary of me going to the first ones, my first one. So I want to look back to 2010. That's contribution to the soundtrack of Tron Legacy, which I shouted out with the crowd. We all kind of found ourselves on the soundtrack of that film. A Guillermo del Toro film, which now will be lost to the mists of time, The Haunted Mansion. That's never going to happen now, but that was announced. Yeah, we'll talk about 2010, or just talk about some big memories of that particular year. 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT. Do join me for an Englishman in San Diego Talkin Con on Wednesday as we go twice a week. Hopefully you can join us as we have another bit of a communal hug about all the things that we love about Comic-Cons. Take care from me to you and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.